Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Hungover podcast. This week, we're delving deep into what all of you might have touched or thought about crowdfunding. My name's Yvonne, over there.
Julien, welcome to the podcast, everyone.
Yes, and as you know, whatever media you're consuming this podcast on, be it on SoundCloud, iTunes, or YouTube, you can catch us on all three. Check out the YouTube to have the video, not just the sound of our voices, but also a depiction in pixels of our beautiful faces.
Yes.
And as always, feel free to leave a comment on iTunes, as that helps us spread ourselves to the masses and gets our podcast out there for many people to hear. It only takes 3 to 5 minutes to make sure that you've got everything under control. We're getting out there, and if you like us, that will help. Thank you so much for tuning in. Julien, do we have anything else at the top of the show?
No, not that I can think of. That's about it. Thanks for covering that for me. Yeah, nailed it.
Nice. So, Julien, as always, we start the show with the segment we call Media and What Did You Drink Last Night? Because we don't actually have a title for the segment, though we'll probably should
get
right
a
now.
title.
Hey,
tell us in the comments section below what you think, or tweet at us at Gaming Hungover what you think this section of the show should be called, or segment of the show. I think that would be pretty cool if you guys named it for us. But, Yvonne, I digress. What have I been playing or consuming? Well, let me tell you. The Destiny 2 beta came out last night, and we played that we also recorded a video, so that video should be out already by the time you're listening to this podcast, as we're pre-recording a bunch of podcasts for Yvonne's eventual departure to another country.
That's true.
And also, so the Destiny 2 beta came out last night. Super excited about that. It was actually quite a bit of fun. It opens up with, I believe, the Homecoming mission, which is either the first mission in the game or maybe it's just specifically for this beta. Not sure about that. I can't really comment on that. But it was a pretty cool mission. I thought it was a lot more cinematic than any other Destiny mission that I've played before.
You mean it actually had story?
Yeah, I'm excited. Look, are we gonna just shit on it all day? Or are we gonna give it praise for what it did well?
I'm saying that Destiny 2 is off the bat way better than Destiny because it actually gave story in the first mission.
Yeah, exactly. I'm excited.
I'm not shitting on it. I'm shitting on Destiny still. Destiny 2 is a clean slate for me, but Destiny...
Oh, yeah. I'm excited. This story mission was pretty cool. It had the three main protagonist people that represent the Warlock, the Titan, and the Hunter in the mission a lot, actually. They talked a lot with you during the mission, and also they had a pretty large role in the mission themselves, so they're NPCs, and they affect a battle that you're part of, which is pretty cool. I thought it was pretty awesome. And then there was also a shared area within the mission, which was pretty cool. I don't know if you remember that or if anyone was in your lobby at that point, because the game does run on separate lobbies, I believe. It's not just one continuous world like any other MMO. But, there's a point where Commander Zavala, whatever, it's the beta, it doesn't matter. Commander Zavala is defending a point in the tower, and for all you Destiny nerds out there, and at that point you can see other people. Obviously, it's the tower that is the social space in Destiny, so that's where other people can join in that you are not necessarily trying to play with at all. But so I thought that was pretty cool. Wasn't expecting that in the middle of a really epic battle. And then we did the strike a bunch of times because one of our friend E-Man, who is a subscriber to the podcast, what up E-Man, joined us, and he is running that strike day and night in order to get the best weapons, or at least see all the weapons and unlock all the secrets. Because He's a Destiny nerd, to say the least. But then we did some Crucible, which was a lot of fun. I thought it was pretty intense. It's actually 4v4, so we were a fire team of 3, so we were pretty much the whole team. So we had no one else to rely on except for one other guy. And it was Control, so Control is basically 90% of Destiny Crucible, so it is what it is. And then the other is Trials of Osiris, which will probably come out. Actually, we didn't try the competitive. Maybe that's what maybe that's sort of an example of what Trials of Osiris will be like. A Trials of Osiris is the super competitive mode in PvP in Destiny. It only comes around every week that Iron Banner is not running. I can't remember. I never did Trials of Osiris because I never got good. But yeah, so that's pretty much what I've been consuming. Super excited. Can't wait for Destiny 2. Getting it everywhere except for Xbox. Because that would be way too much.
Especially since you already have it on PC. Or you're already getting it on PC.
Yeah, I'm going to get it on PC.
I wonder how the crossplay will work.
Between what?
Xbox and PC.
There will be no crossplay between Xbox and PC. It's not a Windows 10 game. It's a Blizzard game.
So it won't be the Play Anywhere thing?
No, it's not part of the Play Anywhere. Those are normally
Blizzard or Microsoft titles.
First person or exclusive titles. And so, for example, like Call of Duty will not be a Play Anywhere game, as far as I know. So Destiny is not a Play Anywhere game, but it's gonna run off the Blizzard client, so it's pretty cool. So you download it through the Blizzard client, the same thing you download Overwatch in. So
nice.
But yeah, super excited, can't wait. Otherwise, from that, I've been listening to more pop-up Cantonese. I'm learning more Cantonese. I'm excited to learn more. I just need to figure out a way to learn how to read Chinese that's efficient, that doesn't take up too much time. But that's another task, but I don't know. That one's really tough.
That is.
I know a little bit because I did take Chinese. I took Mandarin in college, so I recognize a bunch of characters, but I basically in every sign I'll recognize one character, but that means nothing to me because usually when you combine two characters, they can mean something completely different than one. Because the character, whatever. It's a goddamn confusing language, but
so
it's
I don't know
task.
much about the writing system in Cantonese, and
It's
this is going to sound either horribly racist
Mandarin.
or kind of understandable.
No,
But what I thought was that in like Japanese, you need to know between 3,000 and 5,000 characters to like read a newspaper and be literate.
No, that is what you need to know for Chinese. So Japanese uses a bunch of Chinese characters, and in their written language, they actually, I think they have, if I'm not mistaken, they have two. So they have like what's called hiragana, and that is almost like an alphabet that comprises of about 50 characters. And then on top of that, they use Chinese characters as well. You can either write something in hiragana or you can write it in, I think it's called kanji, which is what they refer to as the Chinese characters. So if you write in the Chinese characters, you're being more official or traditional. But if you want to write it in the it's sort of like an alphabet, I would say, in Japanese hiragana. Then you can write out all the syllables in the thing. It just ends up being longer if you do that, though. So a lot of people in Japan, a lot of people in Japan write with the Chinese characters as well. And then also, all the hiragana characters are derived from Chinese Chinese calligraphy as well, Chinese characters.
Okay.
Yeah. But then Chinese is literally all memorization. So you just have to memorize you have to memorize at least 3,000 characters in order to be able to be literate enough to read a newspaper in China, depending on where you are. And depending on the newspaper, I guess. But
that is a lot.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not gonna say I'll ever be able to do that in my lifetime, which is sad to say, but it's true. But I would at least want to be able to read a menu at a restaurant. My number one goal is to be able to order whatever I want in a Chinese restaurant in Cantonese, and also read that menu. That is my goal. And that might take 20 years, but I want to be able to do that.
I think you are capable enough to accomplish that task as long as you make sure that you're doing your pop-up Cantonese when you can.
No,
and then
I'm listening to
the
it
other
every day,
stuff.
so. But then again, it's only been a week.
I trust your
more,
dedication to the cause.
When I feel more confident, I'll start talking on the podcast in Cantonese, but I don't want to embarrass myself. But that's how you learn a language. You embarrass yourself a lot. So, yeah. So that's. I've been listening to that, and also I just listened to the most recent Rooster Teeth podcast. I've been listening to a bunch of podcasts. Haven't been watching anything.
Rooster Teeth updated their schedule to 2 podcasts a week.
Right. I noticed that. I was like, why am I getting so many fucking podcasts now?
Which means I listen to half of the podcasts that come out.
Wait, do you listen to half of one and half of the other?
No, I only listen to the Monday podcast. I refuse to play their game.
You don't want to give them more of your time, is what you're saying?
I give them enough of my time. I don't need more of their nonsensical babbling that is only put up because they have so many viewers and dedicated fans, and nothing against their fans. I'm one of them. It's just like,
of course,
it's enough rambling bullshit. Maybe if you were talking about something worth
us. Yeah, no, definitely.
Cover some.
If they had a topic of the show,
have a political stance. Yeah. Take something. Take initiative. But when they're talking about airplane travel for the millionth time, I can only shoot myself in the foot so many times before I actually think I can. I can't.
I
take
still
anymore.
enjoy the airplane stories, Ed.
Oh my god.
Because I haven't been listening for however many years. I still enjoy that because they do bring it up almost every podcast, which is so funny.
Every fucking podcast.
But yeah, that's what I've been doing, and then more Tekken 7. I've been trying to learn how to Korean backdash and wave dash also. Very difficult, and I might get carpal tunnel because of it.
Is that a Tekken 7 thing, or is it a Super Smash thing?
No, wave dashing is a Super Smash thing,
and
but it's also in Tekken. And then and also in Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and Marvel 2. So fast-paced fighting games usually have what's called a wave dash, which is basically doing the dash animation, but then canceling it out with motion, and then doing the dash animation, and then repeating that. So you end up moving in a wave, but at any point in that wave you can use an attack. So that's the advantage of using it. But it's in Tekken it's pretty difficult to do for me anyways because I'm not that dexterous. But and then the Korean backdash is basically a wave dash backwards in Tekken almost. You're canceling out the backdash animation with a crouch almost, but it's a diagonal input, and then you have to go back to you have to bring the stick back to neutral and then dash back. And then bring it back to neutral, and then go to the maybe I'm describing it incorrectly.
In the video, I think it will work out if people see your hand motion.
Yeah, it's the hand. That's it. Except you have to do that you have to do both of those all 3 of those motions within a split second, and then you have to keep doing it, and it's actually very hard for me to do. But yeah, Yvonne, that's what I've been doing. Sorry, I won't go on any longer. What have you been doing?
Alright, so again, I enjoyed the Destiny 2 beta. I might give Destiny shit just because I can, or Destiny 2
you should. You
the franchise shit because Destiny disappointed me so hard.
I'm just being a fanboy. You should. You definitely should.
I'm gonna this might be the one game that I'm gonna take my hard stance on, that it's been released and I didn't like.
What about Mass Effect?
How Destiny came out. And in any case, Destiny 2 really impressed me. Again,
so far
the PvP combat, which I'm personally more into.
Yeah.
Just because I don't really know the lore at all, and
no one does, and if they do, they have no lives because they had to go on a separate website and read. It's basically like they had to read 5 books in order to know the lore of Destiny.
But
it's
I mean,
there.
Isn't that what nerds do?
Is there.
Isn't that what we do?
I don't read. For instance, I didn't read the Halo books. I'm not that much of a fucking nerd.
Okay.
And I
did.
I'm kidding. Guys.
I read a couple of them.
I should probably.
I read magic books too. The magic
you
novelizations.
Fucking loser! Oh my god! I'm kidding. No, that's really cool, and I totally respect.
It's not really cool.
It's not that cool. And look, I respect anyone who's that into a franchise and really likes the story. Good for you, man. That's awesome.
For
I'm just kidding. Yeah,
people who love The Wire out there, they'll be interested to know that Cedric Daniels, Lieutenant Daniels, Captain Daniels, whatever his rank was,
Daniels,
played by Lance Reddick, is also Captain Zavala, or whatever his name is, Guardian Zavala.
Oh, really? Commander Zavala?
Yeah, whatever his rank is.
Oh, yeah, they got some.
And that dude is also in Horizon
remember.
Zero Dawn, and he's just been all over the gaming voice acting world. So I'm interested to see actually how many more games he's participated in.
And I don't know who did the voice of the Hunter, Cade 9, I think his name is. He's really funny. Maybe the way he's delivering the dialogue is hilarious to me. But
he has a very impressive entrance in the beta.
Yeah. He's a showman.
Yeah. In any case, Destiny 2 is pretty cool. Check out our video that we've put up.
It's already up.
Came out Friday of the beta, so this is coming out a little bit afterwards.
Yeah.
Also, I checked out the first episode of The Night Manager. I know I'm a little behind, but this is
this show?
It is a modernization of a John le Carré novel.
Okay.
John le Carré he was a British spy for a long time, and then became an author. Wrote just a ton of spy books. Is highly regarded in the genre, and so I think The Night Manager is an adaptation of one of his books. I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that.
Okay.
In any case, I know he's connected to the series. And I think it's a modern adaptation, whatever, of one of his stories, and it stars ex Taylor Swift boyfriend Tom Hiddleston, and Hugh Laurie with his full-on British accent, which is jarring at times, and it's pretty interesting so far. The first episode was directed, I think, by a woman. And it was pretty interesting. Some of the camera shots were really uninformed, or like there was no reason. There was shaky cam in this shot, but there was shaky cam. It was like
I just hate shaky.
It was like because they're filming in Egypt during the Arab Spring, they have to do like Paul Greengrass, Green Zone, like Jason Bourne style shooting. I was like, this has there's no like. The camera isn't matching what the narrative is. Like in at least Jason Bourne, it's like you get the shaky cam because it's like action. You understand the premise behind it. It adds to the intensity. But in this, it's like shaky cam in the first 5 minutes, and I didn't understand why. I was like, invest in a tripod, folks. And I'm going to go watch Baby Driver again. For the second time, because I really am invested in that, and I'm excited to check out a movie before I go to Central Asia, where I might not have the time to do that. So, movie theaters it is.
Awesome. Are you going to Alamo Drafthouse, or?
I can't. There isn't one up here.
There's no one up in Syracuse? Damn.
No. I'm going
Not yet.
Not yet. Not until I open it.
Yes.
But no, I'm going to the big mall. It doesn't even have the nice recliner seating. So in Buffalo, when I watched it the first time, they have those big Lazy Boy faux leather chairs. You can press the motorized button.
Leather?
You can lean back almost 180 degrees. You're just sitting there.
Holy shit.
There are like 7 chairs in one aisle. It's
How
awesome.
much is a ticket?
It was like $10.50.
What? Dude, I pay in New York City. Oh my god, that makes me angry. New York City, I think the price has gone up to $15 just for your regular old movie theater now.
That's ridiculous.
But to be fair, we do have the IFC, Sundance Theater, and a bunch of theaters that play movies that you probably wouldn't see otherwise. Foreign films and indie films that are really amazing.
If I lived in a bigger city like San Antonio, I could do the same thing for still cheaper.
Does the same. Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm not saying that those movie theaters are cheaper, but
damn you,
at a certain point, some of the movies might be worth seeing at that price. But I digress. That is a really great price. You should take advantage of it.
Yes,
that you do. You see a lot of movies. I mean, I don't see a lot of movies because I'd be broke if I did.
So this movie I'm going to go see using my Regal Crown Club points. And
nice.
So I had enough for 2 free movie tickets. So
do you ever go to matinee shows?
I do occasionally go to matinees.
Yeah, I feel like you should do that more. I mean, they're half price usually.
Yeah. No, they're super cheap. I just usually I'm like working out or waking up or whatever.
Wait. Yeah. I understand.
In any case, you know what would help for me to be able to open up my own movie theater where I could play independent and foreign films and all sorts of different movies that I really enjoy?
If you asked other people to pay for it for you?
Yes, I could
and then have them come to your business and pay you more money?
This is a genius idea. Get people to pay me twice.
Let's do it. Goddamn crowdfunding. Look. So the podcast topic of the show is indeed crowdfunding, Yvonne. Thanks for that excellent segue.
I'd call it mediocre at best.
I think it was a pretty good segue. Of course, this was all spawned due to you asking about, or asking me if I knew anything about Star Citizen, the video game that has yet to come out. How much money has Star Citizen raised on what is it Indiegogo or is it Kickstarter?
Don't know how they're raising their money. I'm just looking at their stretch goals that they have listed on their personal website. I don't know how they're getting them.
Okay, well, they're
I'll look that up real quick.
Yeah, so do you know how much money they've made?
Yes, I do. They have it listed right here. So within their latest stats, they have raised $154,220,656 from 1.8 million people, or roundabouts.
$154 million. I don't think. I mean, granted, what they're describing as the video game is very, very elaborate, and as far as I've read, I just read a little bit about it just now. Seems to be. I mean, I guess we should premise the game. It's a space simulator, space economy, space governmental simulator sort of game, as far as I'm getting. On the scale of EVE Online. Do you know anything about that game?
Yeah. So it is. Yeah. It's similar to EVE Online, but it's going to have a more expanded universe, and it's also going to have a sister game which comes out, which will be I think it will be like the first-person shooter
version
part of it. Like there was that.
Dust 5.
Yeah. What was
514.
Was it Stardust or just Dust 514?
No, it's just Dust 514. It was free to play on PlayStation 3. I remember playing it when it came out. That game was shit. But it was connected to EVE Online, which was pretty cool if you ask me. But
yeah, so it's going to have
idea
similar asymmetric gameplay, I think, between the two games, in which one will support the other in some sort of way, or at least that was my understanding from what the original idea was.
Right, and this game, Star Citizen itself, was announced in 2012, right?
Yeah, so I'm looking at the web page for their Kickstarter, and there's a lot of stuff for so coming back all the way from 2012, 2014. So there's a lot of stuff from way back when. So the game was announced quite some time ago, around 2011, and has been just increasingly getting more and more and more money. And so they've been doing this in multiple ways. So you have your standard Kickstarter, from what I see here. You have your standard Kickstarter level of goals, but you also have a bunch of like spaceships that you can buy on and different things for different levels. Like you can buy the add-on ship Vanduul Fighter for 300, or you could.
And this is in-game stuff.
These are in-game ships that you can pre-purchase. So there are starfighters that you can buy ahead of time, so that when the game comes out, you get those.
The advantage.
So like the Vanduul Fighter for $300, the Heavy Retaliator Heavy Bomber for $250, blah blah blah. They have cheaper and cheaper pricing. Or you can get the Idris class Corvette for $1,000.
Okay. Wow, you can spend you can pledge $1,000 to them, and you'll get a ship.
Yes.
And does this come with a copy of the game also, or?
No? Yeah, actually that's a great question. I think this is a digital add-on, so I think that in addition to purchasing the game, you have to. Please note that all digital add-ons require the base pledge to be $30 or higher.
Okay.
So you need a base pledge of $30, and then you can pay another $1,000 to get that. Idris Elba Corvette Destroyer or whatever.
If you're spending $1,000 on a video game, what's $60 more? I don't know.
Yeah.
But not that I'm saying that they should do that, but
there was one backer who pledged $10,000.
Yeah. Well, I hope that person gets the game ever. And when do you know when they pledged?
This said, I don't know. It says estimated delivered 2014. And yeah.
Good God, man.
So
basically, this game has been in development. There are a lot of developer videos where they are getting interviewed. I'm not entirely sure by who, because it's actually on the Star Citizen YouTube channel. So I'm not sure who they're interviewing. They're probably just talking to a camera. And then it's a bunch of gameplay footage. So it seems to me this game is pretty far along.
They have released some alpha stuff. So at the beginning of the year, they were only at like 147 million. Only, I say only because they've reached $154 million. Or $141 million. And they had released an Alpha 3 by now, which has basically an alpha of Starfighter combat, and racing. Then there's a first-person PvP shooter. There's your personalized hangar, and then with this new alpha, they've released the a chunk of the persistent universe, which is one planet basically, where you can kind of explore what the universe has to offer. Kind of like a very, 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 very small, concentrated version of what they want the game to look like. In addition, they're changing the game engine completely from CryEngine to Amazon's Lumberyard.
Oh, yes. Yeah, right.
And so that's going to add on to whatever their development cycle is going to be. So they've had several different release dates. So I think from 2014 to 2016, they kept saying, oh, the game will come out now, and now. And they've pushed back every single time. And it's come with some... Eventually, this alpha got released, and it got a lot of publicity because, well, it's actually something that you can play from the game. But... like news and different things that are attached to this game have dropped significantly. It used to be like the most popular topic to discuss, but they've shuttered a lot of the news going out and different things by releasing that alpha, and also by changing their formula for their Kickstarter and different things. So it was just a completely crazy amount of money that's been dedicated to this project. And I think that it started because there was a bunch of like 50-year-old guys that remembered Wing Commander, and the guy who's the lead developer, Chris Roberts, developed Wing Commander. So they're like, oh my god, Wing Commander was great, imagine what he could do with modern technology, here, just take my money.
And it gained some traction from there. And then people, they started describing the game, and people jumped on. I could see it. I could see this game being funded based on what it's promising. But basically, just,
It's the intriguing thing. No, getting funded is one thing, but getting funded to a major AAA title worth of money, like, and even so on the higher end, I think, probably, of AAA titles.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Is pretty crazy. Like, I think, how much did it take to make GTA 5? Like 200 million?
I will look that up for you, but I believe that.
Now Star Citizen is at 150 through crowdfunding. It's a crazy amount of money, and it's the largest crowdfunding campaign that I've ever heard of. And it's smashed records. But the problem being is, like, how do you transition from a vision of a game that would cost maybe 20 million to transitioning to a game that will cost 150 million. I mean, their stretch goals that they have listed on their own website stopped at $60 million, and now they've more than doubled that. So it's
GTA
like
5
at some point. Sorry, GTA.
$265 million.
265. So 100 million less than this, but let's not put in how much money was used for marketing, etc. Unless that's not within that budget.
I'm pretty sure that's within that. I should hope that's within that budget, because goddamn, that's a lot of money.
Like you, like
not that they
movies
haven't already made it back.
Movies in the budget they released never released the advertisement budget. Usually you have to double a movie, so I'm not positive if that would be the same for video games or not. But again, GTA 5 made their money back instantly.
Probably the first day.
I think they made $1 billion in the first 3 days or something like that.
Yeah, they did. They made they hit $1 billion when?
It was exceeding. It was less than a week for sure.
Yeah. And it's still in the top 10 sales every month to this day. That game came out in 2013 on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360.
Yeah, and unless you can catch it on sale, which they have every few months now, it's not on sale. It's still $60, which is crazy.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I guess, I mean, to be fair, if you were, if I were to tell the average gamer to get one game for their console or even PC at this point, I'd say that might be the best bang for your buck. If you just like taking the average gamer's interest in games, taste in games, I think that's not a bad purchase. It's a very good purchase.
That's probably true,
considering GTA Online is so expansive now. But it is a pretty fun game. Let's be honest.
I had a good time in it.
Yeah, we have a Let's Play of GTA Online. Tell us if you want us to play more. Maybe it's up by now, but it will be up soon if it's not. But yeah, Yvonne, so where do we fall on this? This game has been in development for the better half of a decade, and they've promised a bunch of things. They've delayed and delayed the release date. They've been given two times the amount that they asked for from the consumers already, and where do we fall on this? I don't like it one bit. I think this is really the problem that a lot of Kickstarter products and ideas come into. They pledge an idea, and they seem to have a logical plan towards its development based on their production and their little teaser video of the product. And then you're like, oh, I'll pledge $10 to this, and you get a bunch of people that are interested in it, and it ends up getting funded. But then the developer of this product sort of just falls silent for a very long time, and you even forget that you pledged that money. And sometimes you might not, particularly I heard in the case of the video game Mighty Number 9, which was from the developer of Mega Man, a beloved Capcom series. I'm sure everyone knows Mega Man. If you might not think of Mega Man first when you think of video games, but he's definitely on the top of video game icons. The developer of Mega Man crowdfunded a Mega Man-like game called Mighty Number 9. Came out on pretty much everything. It's currently out. It got delayed a bunch of times. It got completely funded, but the perks for pledging like up to $200, you got some physical memorabilia for the game and signed things and such, have yet to actually been mailed out. And this game came out 2 years ago, I think, or maybe a year and a half ago. So I think the problem that Star Citizen aptly describes is these developers, and I'm not necessarily sure it's their fault, are not ready to meet their goals during their timeline. They didn't plan out their timeline correctly, and that's really the problem that a lot of them run into. I mean, that's irresponsibility on their part as well, because they're asking for money. So
yeah, I mean, a lot of making a video game is hard. We don't even know the first thing, or I'm sorry, I don't even know the first thing that goes into making a video game. It's like, that's such a daunting task. You have to, do you type? Are you just typing things? Or are you manipulating things in a window, or it depends
what do you
on
do?
what level you are. So I think there are simple games that flood markets that are made on like RPG Maker or whatever that software is. Things like what
or Super Mario Maker. I can make a video game in Super Mario Maker. It's gonna be shit, but yeah, I've done it.
To what Star Citizen is going to be, and I think the different levels of how developers are responding to crowdfunding really is. It's such a wide spectrum, right, of what's going on. So, on the one hand, you have developers who know what they're doing. This is not their first rodeo. They are looking to make a game that isn't under the influence of X, Y, or Z studio, make it on their own. They can hit their goals, or even if they need to delay a bit, they can still make them. There are some developers that are just like, and this doesn't go for only video games. This goes for across the board for many crowdfunded projects. It's just like, I have this fantastic idea, I can implement it, and then like 6 weeks into the project or 6 months into the project, they go, I couldn't even figure out what materials I needed for this. We couldn't develop it. It's a great idea, and in 20 years it'll be a thing, but we couldn't do it. And a lot of that,
and we didn't even ask for enough money, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and then the funding goes out the door. Some campaigns give refunds, some don't. And they're like, well, we spent our capital in a positive way developing what we needed to do. Sorry, we couldn't develop it fully. That's my if Obama was a game developer. And then there are levels of like Star Citizen where they're just getting so much capital they don't know how to fulfill the demands of what their capital can do, and so they inappropriately structure their stretch goals. Or, on the other hand of shady business practices, are people like Shenmue 3, which is like, or the new Atari box, which just got announced.
Yes, right.
So, and in a shady letter to investors, Eurogamer discovered that they're like, we're going to crowdfund the Atari box so that it's not as much risk to you, the investors. And basically, Shenmue 3 would only be produced with funding if it got enough crowdfunding to basically tell Sony that this is going to be a product that people would invest in.
Yeah, right. That was so weird. That was on the E3 stage. They announced the crowdfunding campaign for the video game Shenmue 3. You can go look it up. Shenmue 1 and 2 are sort of, I would say, cult classics amongst PlayStation aficionados. I didn't play any of those games.
If you're looking for sailors, Shenmue 2, man.
Yeah. There you go. And then they announced Shenmue 3, which would be the sequel, or maybe it's a prequel, I'm not sure. And it basically, this game, the Shenmue 2 came out a long time ago, and Shenmue 3, people have been wanting it for a while, apparently. I didn't even know about this franchise until they announced it. Then I looked up a lot about it. But yeah, so then they announced the crowdfunding on the E3 stage, which, if you don't know about E3, you should go look it up. It's basically a big advertisement for all the video games that are going to come out.
We did
in the future.
2 podcasts about it.
Yeah, and so basically 3 different companies, Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony, talk about the upcoming games. So Sony didn't want to fund a game that would come out on their console, so they decided to make them get it crowdfunded. And then, I believe now they're funding it because they hit the crowdfunding goal. But they're still taking all that money. And that's where the shady business practices come in. That's not fair to the people who committed money to it unless they already got the game, like they pre-purchase the game. I don't think it's fair unless they are guaranteed a pre-purchase of the game that will probably come out in 2025.
And even saying that, it's like with different levels of backing on Kickstarter, for instance, if you like only pay $5 for a Kickstarter, you're not going to get the game early.
Right. Yeah.
So the whole thing behind that was like they announced the crowdfunding, but secretly, in an opaque way, it was said that Sony was already going to fund it. The whole reason of the crowdfunding was a way to judge monetarily the interest in a game like Shenmue 3 coming out. And so this was a way, the spirit of crowdfunding, right, from its inception, is a way for independent people or people who are looking to make a game outside of the studio system to be able to search for funding, not a way for big publishers to supplement their income by kind of pulling the wool over the eyes of very interested gamers, be they teens or 60-year-old adults. It's like it was just a really weird and really underhanded practice and of judging how impactful X product would be, and it's a way to gain extra cash for it, right? So I don't think crowdfunding should be used as a revenue stream for major companies. I think it should be as a method for those who can't get huge loans from different people to get a startup off the ground, kind of like a very upscale version of Grameen Bank, right? Grameen Bank was the original idea of micro loans, where you take like $20, loan it to someone, they can start up a business or whatever in Bangladesh is where it started. So they only need a little amount of money in order to get their thing going. Now, video games, different products being built in the US, etc., they might have a different scale as to what they need. So therefore, Kickstarter and places like that go. But an interesting way to combat that, right, is for people who are donating money to these campaigns, might be getting something small and tangible back, might be getting a full game back, is a place like Fig, which is a crowdfunding website that allows for equity investment so that you can actually profit off of your investment at some scale if the project is successful.
I think that makes more sense to me. And of course, this is not to say that Kickstarter or Indiegogo or any of these companies are and the people that use them are inherently bad people, or inherently they don't know what they're doing. I mean, certain cases, I mean, we've cited some cases, but I mean, I have something that was kickstarted right here. This is the Eva Polar Mini AC unit, basically. It's a desktop AC unit because it gets hot as fuck in my room, and I need something to cool me down. And this thing runs off of water and electricity, and it's also an air purifier as well, and a humidifier. And granted, I can't keep it too far away from me if I want it to gain its effects, but of cooling me down. But it can cool down a desktop area within around 10 degrees Fahrenheit, which is pretty nice. And they got completely funded, and the product came out. Granted, I just got it. I don't know how long it was in development or anything like that. But that's the sort of risk you run if you see something that you like and you want to fund it. I wouldn't exactly run. I mean, depending on how much you're going to pledge, of course. I wouldn't exactly just go willy-nilly and give these people your money. I would do some research into the company. For instance, like Shenmue 3, right? If you had just waited a week or two, you would have known that Sony was going to fund it. Or I don't know how long after Sony announced
it was
that
almost
they were gonna fund
instantaneous that
right, yeah,
that
exactly.
basically the news leaked that Sony was doing this in kind of a shady hybrid backing system.
I think it might have been the same tape or something.
So it was,
and you would have ended up saving $5 there, or however much you're gonna pledge to them, and it's really worth just looking into a little bit before you just give these people your money. But I wanna point out the other crowdfunding that I do like and support is Patreon. I think Patreon is a really good service that obviously patreon.com offers creators and things like that. It's a sort of a crowdfunding thing, subscription service that you pledge a certain amount of money every single month to, say, your favorite creator on YouTube or whatever it is that they do. Maybe they just do art and well, not that YouTube isn't art or whatever, but maybe they just paint paintings and do cosplay and things like that, and they don't necessarily have a YouTube channel, but they upload to a website or something. Particularly, I mean, I pledge money to Kinda Funny and Colin's Last Stand. I think I really like their videos, and I pledge $1 to each of them a month just because I want to help them out. So I end up giving them $12 a year. It's not that much of a financial commitment to me, but they also end up having tier perks that you get every month that the creator will end up deciding, obviously, what it is. For Kinda Funny, they end up giving you the podcast, I guess, early and then or something. I mean, I don't even listen to it on the day of, but I think they also record live now, so they give you a link to the live recording. You can watch it if you want. And then I support Colin's Last Stand because I like his videos, so I wanted to support him. But yeah, so that is one service that I do actually actively use. And in terms of crowdfunding, I wouldn't necessarily fund a product or a video game because I'm just gonna buy the game when it comes out. So that's my take on funding video games, or products in general. But I don't know about you. Have you ever funded a product, Yvonne, or a video game?
No, I think the closest that I've come is I'm a Rooster Teeth first member, which is essentially the Rooster Teeth based version of Patreon. So
right. They obviously Rooster Teeth was paving the way for Patreon. I would say they locked down the game, man. They pretty much started the game, so. Which is cool. I mean,
so I pay $15 a month, which is the same, or $15 not a month, $15 every 6 months.
Oh, okay. So I mean, that's again, it's your level of commitment. It's not a problem. And it's not breaking your bank or anything. So it's good. And you get to support them, and also whatever benefits you get from it, right? So, but when you pledge money to a Kickstarter like this, like let's say you, this guy, you said, didn't you say someone donated $10,000 to this game? Yeah,
they also, I was looking through Citizen? So on the Kickstarter they have a $10,000 list, but on their they ended their Kickstarter campaign and they continued the crowdfunding through their own personal site, because I guess they could stack enough money to host it. And so they have a $15,000 completionist package on their home site, which is, I think, every single Starship that they've announced.
Holy shit. I should hope... I can't believe that that some of the content is locked behind more than $60, or more than $100, let's say. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's extra content in games. I mean, I've ended up spending more than $100 on Destiny alone, but I can't believe that they would lock anything behind $15,000 a month. That is insane. And someone's already committed this money to them, and what have they seen? Maybe they got access to the alpha, I hope. I feel like that alpha was a closed alpha, so I hope that person got access to the alpha at least. And this game hasn't come out yet, so
I think it's the alpha in the way that like Project Greenlight or whatever the Steam thing is now is an alpha. It's like you have this persistent alpha that will stay there, and then it will eventually at some point maybe become a beta. I don't really know.
Okay.
That's the whole problem with this whole development cycle. It's like, what is an alpha too, right? So like,
oh yeah, that's like a different topic, but yeah.
But it is and it isn't, because the one way to crowdfund is by just letting people purchase the alpha, right? Like 7 Days to Die has been available for years.
And I purchased PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds.
Which is a fantastic alpha, by the way, and that's exactly how alphas should run. They're made a ton of money, and they're making really good upgrades to the game.
Absolutely. No, I think they made like an obscene amount of money already, which is good because it's a great game, and I know a lot of people play it. But and a game like that probably won't lose mainstream spotlight for a while. But some of these games come out in beta on PC, and this is primarily on PC game. I can't think of any console games that do this, but this is primarily a PC game thing. The games come out in beta or alpha, and they stay that way for the better half of a year, or maybe even 2 years. I think I have another game called Rivals of Aether. It's sort of like Super Smash Brothers, or it's inspired by it. That game's been an alpha, and I didn't even know it was an alpha. And then I completely forgot about the game, and I think it just came out or something. Like, the game I completely forgot about. It just came out. And I have been playing it for a year, the better half of a year. And then my GameCube controller stopped working with PC, because PC games, man, just stop. Why is this a problem? Drivers, god damn it. But yeah, like, some games just get forgotten about when they come out. officially release because they've been in beta for so long. But I mean, that's what I think of betas. That's like a different problem.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, I mean, I like the idea of crowdfunding. Makes sense if you think of it on paper, but there are a lot of shady business transactions that go on, such as the Shenmue 3 thing, and then all this Star Citizen nonsense. They have way too much money, or they've received so much money from their fans that just want the game and that have been waiting for 5+ years now, and they haven't gotten anything aside from this alpha. So I think there needs to be some sort of regulation they put on crowdfunding, because a lot of people are getting cheated through things like Kickstarter. I mean, I know, no disrespect, or I'm not slying Kickstarter, the company, or anything, but the people that they allow on there to fund their things, they should be vetted or something.
But at the same time, it's like that the different levels of crowdfunding is that like it is supposed to be this very democratic way of doing things, right? So
yeah, people want this.
People should have access to it.
And capitalists as well.
So I think that, and I don't know what the process of getting one of these crowdfunding campaigns is. So maybe they have tightened up a bit of the regulation around what these games are. And like Steam, for instance, with early access, if you count Steam and early access as a platform, then they've definitely tightened up how games get on to Steam, the Steam market. They've also allowed people to like get refunds and different things, and I feel like there's a lot of that within the crowdfunding campaigns of like Kickstarter, Indiegogo. When some projects fail in an epic way, they can get there can be enough peer pressure to get refunds or different things. But at the same time, that's a very scary thing, because the whole point of a business, right, when you're just starting it up, is that if it doesn't succeed, then you don't, like, the whole point of crowdfunding is that you can't get a loan from a bank, which wouldn't give you a loan because they don't know that you will succeed. And crowdfunding, part of that is like, well, you gave your money, but you didn't know for sure this was going to succeed. And so I feel like people are getting a lot more of that idea of like failed investments and how that feels. And they're also feeling there's sorry, I'll let you get back to your point, but I think on the democratic way of how things are approached on these things, I think it should be an open platform.
No, right. It looks good on paper, right? And of course, we've only talked about the negative crowdfunding aside from Everpolar. But I mean, we don't hear about the positive things that come out of the positive products, the successful Kickstarters, because they just became successful and they sold their product and that was it, right? So there's no gossip or news story around a successful Kickstarter product that was released. There's gossip about a Kickstarter that got funded, but not when the product eventually releases. And in fact, you don't, like, you'll hear that, oh, this was the most funded game by Kickstarter or whatever. It was funded in a day, overnight. It got $1 million, and that's amazing. And then that's the news story. And then later on, if they delay, that's another news story, a negative news story. And then when they eventually release, or if they do release and it's fine, then you don't get a news story. I don't think, in my cursory glance over the news over Kickstarter and crowdfunding, that's sort of the cycle, and that's how it should be. Like, if something works, then why? If it's not broke, then don't fix it, right? So
there are several to add to like the good crowdfunding aspects that I appreciate. And one is going to be, it's going to sound exceedingly hypocritical. Because it's exactly
We love
the same
hypocrisy
thing
on the
that I
internet.
complain about with Shenmue is the same thing that I'm going to say I liked about Veronica
It's
Mars.
Shenmue? What?
Veronica
Wait,
Mars.
Oh, okay.
So the Veronica Mars had the cult TV show, and then they had a Kickstarter for their movie, which got funded, and then they could make the movie and release it, etc. And then I got to watch it and different things. So that was cool.
Did you didn't fund it?
I didn't fund it. I think I might have rented it, or it was out on something. I think I rented it on YouTube or something.
Okay.
And then I've also played the game Exploding Kittens, which is a card game that came out and was a Kickstarter. That's a pretty fun card game.
A lot of board games are actually kickstarted.
Yeah, and I think that's really cool use of the platform.
Yeah. There are an infinite amount of products on Kickstarter and all these other crowdfunding. Obviously, we don't know any other ones.
I mean, Rooster Teeth had an
ones.
Indiegogo for Laser Team, which was a decent movie.
Didn't they fund
$1 Million, but the card
$1
game.
Million, but yeah, cool. I mean, and so was what was the game we played in college, or that everyone was freaking obsessed with in college, that everyone still is, Cards Against Humanity.
Right.
Against popular opinion, I effing hate that game, and apples to apples. I just hate that game. It's so boring to me. I don't get the obsession over it, but if you guys are happy playing it, then play it. It's just everyone always tries to play it at a fucking bar. They're like, oh my god, we have no room as is in New York City. Why are we trying to play this in a bar? For Christ's sake, just drink your drink and be unhappy. Stop. You clearly I'm kidding. If you're happy playing that game, play it. But yeah, do you have anything else to say about the topic? I feel like we
Atari Box Shenmue, although I've only heard it pronounced Shenmue.
It's Shenmue. I'm kidding. It's a joke.
Are examples of when large companies that should be able to fund their own thing are passing off the buck to consumers to ease their front side risk, I guess, which is, I don't think it's the appropriate way to use crowdfunding. But I'm excited for how crowdfunding can build out levels of games and levels of products that wouldn't have come to be in otherwise. I just want to make sure that the process is open, it's democratic, and people understand how their investment works. Like, if they're guaranteed a product, if they're not guaranteed a product, can they get a refund, different things. Like, have that be an open communication, but people who are investing should understand that. In my mind, people who are investing in these crowdfunding campaigns that complain are always like these 20-year-olds who have, like,
we're not 20-year-olds,
$35 that they are willing to spend on this thing. And then when it doesn't meet its release date or whatever, like let's say a video game, right? So it doesn't meet its release date. Oh,
which they never do.
You're stealing my money. You're doing the worst thing ever. Blah blah blah. And they're the same people that when a game comes out or a game is being developed and it's taking a little long or like it's getting underfunded, they're the same people that will be like, how could you not give them the extra millions of dollars they needed to just make the best game possible? We just need the best game possible, and so they can develop them in proper amounts of time. It's just like, it's kind of...
So you're classic internet person.
It's the level of recognition is just very minimal. And again, I don't actually know these people. This is just my perception of what this person is.
They exist.
So
Trust
it's
me.
like when your money's on the line, then it's... when your money's on the line, when you're a funder, then it's like, get me the product now. But when your money is on the line for a future product, you've already... For instance, let's say a popular game is Call of Duty. Now, let's say Call of Duty wasn't getting the money it needed, or it's being pushed or whatever. People who are going to buy Call of Duty feel that they already own the product. They already know that they're going to buy it, so they already own the product, right? And that sense of ownership makes them react in one way. And the same reverse side of like their feeling of ownership of whatever the product is that they're investing is the same way. So they're two different reactions and pointing at two different people. They're either pointing at the people who are developing it, or they're pointing at like the what is it called, the people who release the games.
The
Publishers, right? And there are two levels of vitriol, but going from the exact same level of ownership and materialism for a game either that they've paid to get developed or something that they've already decided in their minds they own. So it's a really interesting way of kind of like people who don't own a thing yet already think that they do. And how that will be affected in the age of crowdfunding is an interesting thing for crowdfunders to have to manage.
Yeah. I want to see. I mean, I'm sure. Again, we only hear about the big crowdfunding stories such as Star Citizen, Shenmue, etc. But I'm sure there are plenty of things that are... I'm sure there are millions of products, well, probably like hundreds of thousands of products that are funded and complete their cycle and development cycle, get all of their products out, and they're now a successful company, and then they also meet all their goals and send out all the benefits to their funders. I'm sure that happens plenty, like day after day, year after year. So I think there just needs to be a system in place to prevent these. I don't think, for instance, I don't think something like Shenmue's should ever happen, should ever be a thing that have happened. Or something like this game Star Citizen. I don't think they should have been allowed. There needs to be some way that Kickstarter can enforce or penalize the companies for not fulfilling their promises. That's all I want. I just don't want these people who funded something that they really do want, and they really want it so badly that they would personally, financially fund the company and the product. So I think those people deserve the product, right? I mean, they're going out of their way, and they're really passionate about the product, and they deserve the product at that point. I mean, whether it's $1 or $10,000 in the case of Star Citizen, that guy definitely deserves a personally signed by every single developer on the game copy of the game or whatever, and he deserves his name in the game also, or something. I don't know.
Or $15,000 for the
for
complete
$15,000 in the credits or something. Yeah. But yeah, I that's my opinion on it. I like crowdfunding. I think it's definitely going to stick around, but I just think there needs to be a little more regulation on it. So things like Shenmue don't happen again.
I'm excited to see in crowdfunding how things like Fig work, and in terms of how we can translate...
Get some ownership.
So equity ownership and different things in the investment. So it changes the shape of the crowdfunding landscape. So now it's not just you get a product, it's like you get equity in something or different things. It's like buying a stock.
Yeah, no, absolutely. A company called Rayton Solar, which I believe I brought up in our global warming podcast, which you can go listen to. I talked about them. They're basically, they figured out a way to make solar cells more efficient. They're crowdfunding. They're asking for initial investments right now. I believe you have to pledge. You can only pledge $500 or more, so it is a large investment. Definitely in my book, that's a large investment. But you can go fund them now, but you get, I guess, a share or a bunch of shares in the company. So you're literally investing in the company. So, and they just got their patent approved, so they're moving along quickly. So solar cells should be cheaper any day now.
Yes.
Yes, finally. I'm gonna buy them now. So I agree. Fig is a really interesting way to do crowdfunding. But Yvonne, I think we've talked about crowdfunding for long enough. Unless you have, yet again, any last words.
No, I'm good.
Okay. We always end our podcast in a song in a segment called Hungover Radio. If you would like to send in your song, yes, your song, the listener's song, whether you produced, wrote the song, played an instrument on, or maybe even your friend wrote, produced, played an instrument on in their music. This is essentially free advertisement for you guys, for all 17 of you who listen to this podcast every week. Yes, us being one of them, 2 of them, so 15. But yeah, free advertisement for you guys, and also hopefully we can grow our community and share a bunch of music. I think that would be really cool. You can send us an MP3 link or whatever music link that fits your fancy to gaminghungover@gmail.com, or you can get in contact with us on Twitter through the DMs if you'd like, or just tweet at us at gaminghungover. Of course, all this information is in the description below, whether it be on iTunes, SoundCloud, or YouTube. Of course, Yvonne, no one yet again suggested a song, unfortunately, but luckily, that's what I'm for. I picked a song from a game called Super Mario Sunshine. This was one of my favorite childhood games back in 2002. Came out on the GameCube, exclusive to the GameCube. Super underrated Mario game, I think. I really like the aesthetic. Obviously, it's an island aesthetic with sunshine in the name. Mario could relax on the beach, do whatever he wanted. Get some coconuts, kick them around. And it had really good music, really good island-themed music, I think. Of course, bless you, Nikki. Thanks for being in the podcast. I'm kidding. Just a joke. It was a joke. Come on. That's my girlfriend. Sorry, she's in the next room. She just sneezed. Maybe I'll have her on the podcast if we haven't recorded enough. Also, we'll get her on eventually. She's a real comedian. Hey, got him. Anyways. Hey. All right. So, so the song is called Delfino Plaza. It's sort of the main area of Super Mario Sunshine, and this is the song that played in the background. So I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. Leave a thumbs up if you liked the video. Go ahead and review us on iTunes. Give us a 5-star review, maybe. I don't know. Of course, I'm one of your hosts, Julien, alongside
Yvonne. Thanks so much for listening to us.
Yeah, we'll catch you guys. Also, wait, you can keep the conversation going in the comment section below or on Twitter as well. If you have any questions for us, maybe we'll get a question section going if we could ever get any questions from you guys. We had one question once, which was freaking awesome.
It was great.
And we got to talk about it. But yeah, we'll catch you guys next week. Peace out.
Bye.